When I was 5, my parents left me at a bus stop with a backpack and a juice box. My parents kissed my forehead and said, "Stay here. Someone will find you." Then they drove off, smiling with my baby sister in the back seat. I never saw them again. Until 25 years later, when they walked into my office and said, "We're your family. We've come to bring you home." My mom set me down at the bus stop when I was 5 and said, "Stay here. Someone will find you." She drove off smiling with my dad and baby sister leaving me in the dust. I couldn't scream, just stood there watching the truck fade. 25 years later, they walked into my office and said, "We're your family. We've come to bring you back. It's always a pleasure to have you with us. Just before we jump in, tell us where you're joining from, your city, state, or even country." Let's get back to the story now. I was 5, standing barefoot at the bus stop, the Texas sun baking the cracked concrete beneath me. My juice box, apple my favorite, was half empty and warm in my small hands. Mom had handed it to me an hour ago when we'd rattled up to this dusty stop off Highway 87. Our old Ford truck coughing like it was ready to quit. "Just a quick stop, Ethan." She'd said, her voice thin like she was holding her breath. Dad was up front, his jaw tight. Baby Sarah wailed in her car seat, her chubby fists waving. I wanted to hush her, but Mom yanked me out of the truck instead. "Stand here, Ethan," she said, kneeling so her hazel eyes met mine. Her hair was tangled, sweaty strands sticking to her forehead. "Someone will find you. Okay? Just wait." Her fingers brushed my cheek, shaky, and I smelled the stale coffee on her breath. Same as every morning when she'd sip from her chipped mug at the kitchen table. Dad tossed my small backpack beside me, muttering, "Ruth, we're late." He wouldn't look at me. He never did much, not since Sarah came along. I clutched that juice box, confused. "Where you going, Mama?" My voice was small, lost in the buzz of cicadas. She didn't answer, just climbed in, tugging Sarah's blanket higher. The truck roared to life and I ran a few steps, yelling, "Wait!" Dust stung my eyes as they peeled out, tailpipe spitting black smoke. I stood there, heart hammering, watching the tail lights shrink until they were gone. The juice box slipped from my hand, spilling across the concrete. Hours passed, my throat burned, legs wobbled, buses came and went, but no one stopped. I kept thinking Mom would turn back, her laugh filling the cab like it used to when we'd sing Patsy Cline on long drives, but the sun sank low and I was alone, just a speck at that big empty bus stop. Then Hank the mechanic ambled over, his grease-stained hands gentle as he said, "Hey kiddo, you okay?" I wasn't. I didn't know if I ever would be. Hank and June didn't have much. A single wide trailer with peeling paint and a sagging porch, but they made room for me that first night. I sat on their couch, a lumpy thing patched with duct tape, staring at a faded photo of them grinning by a fishing hole. Hank handed me a glass of sweet tea, the ice clinking, and said, "You're safe here, Ethan." June knelt, slipping an old flannel shirt over my shoulders. It smelled like motor oil and lavender, a mix that stuck with me. I nodded, but inside I was a knot of questions. Why didn't Mom and Dad come back? Was it something I'd done? The sheriff came by the next day, his boots crunching gravel. He scratched his head, said they checked our trailer 5 miles down the road. Empty. Clothes gone. Dishes still in the sink like they planned it. I pictured Mom stacking plates after supper, her humming soft over the radio. It didn't make sense. June hugged me tight. Her apron dusted with flour from biscuits she'd baked to cheer me up. "We'll figure it out," she murmured, but we didn't. Days turned to weeks and I kept my eyes on the horizon, waiting for that rusty truck to roll back. Hank started bringing me to the garage. He'd prop me on a stool, hand me a wrench and say, "Hold this steady, kid." I liked the weight of it, the way grease stained my fingers. He talked about carburetors and spark plugs, his voice low and steady like he was teaching me more than engines. June braided my hair mornings before school, her hands gentle but firm. "You've got a good head, Ethan," she'd say, tying off the ends with a rubber band. I'd smile, but at night I'd lie on their spare cot, the springs creaking, and cry into the pillow. I miss Mom's off-key singing, Dad's rare chuckle when he'd win at cards. I'd whisper, "Come get me," into the dark, hoping they'd hear. School started when I was 7. Hank drove me in his pickup. The bench seat worn soft, kids stared. Word had spread about the bus stop boy. I kept my head down, clutching a second-hand backpack June had patched up. My teacher, Mrs. Larson, had gray hair and kind eyes. She caught me reading under my desk one day Charlotte's Web and slipped me more books after class. "You're a smart one," she said. I devoured them, losing myself in stories of kids who made it through worse. It was easier than facing the whispers in the lunchroom. Hank and June made it official when I turned 8. Paper signed, a judge in a black robe nodding like it was no big deal. They took me for ice cream after vanilla soft serve from the Dairy Queen, dripping down the cone. Hank grinned. "You're a carver now, legally ours." June squeezed my hand, her rings cool against my skin. I smiled back, but it didn't reach inside. I'd watch buses pull into the station, my heart jumping every time, thinking they might bring my parents back. I'd dream of Mom bursting in, saying it was all a mistake, her arms wide, but the lot stayed quiet. Nights were the hardest. I'd wake up sweating, seeing Dad's back as he climbed into the truck. Mom's shaky fingers brushing my cheek. I tiptoed to the window, the moon casting shadows on the scrubby yard, and wonder where they were. Was Sarah walking yet? Did they miss me at all? One night June found me there, her nightgown frayed at the hem. She didn't say much, just sat with me, her breathing steady. "It's okay to hurt, Ethan," she whispered. I nodded, tears slipping down my cheeks, but I couldn't shake the feeling I wasn't enough. By 9, I'd stopped talking about them so much. Hank taught me to change oil, his calloused hands guiding mine. June baked pies, pecan my favorite, and we'd eat on the porch, the radio crackling with country tunes. They were good to me, better than I'd expected, but there was a hole quiet and deep that their kindness couldn't fill. I'd sit in church Sundays, the preacher droning about love and forgiveness, and I'd wonder if I'd ever stop waiting. I'd trace the scars on my heart, invisible but real, left by a promise that never came true. "Someone will find you," Mom had said. Hank and June did, but it wasn't the same. I was theirs now, but part of me stayed lost, sitting by that dusty bus stop, hoping for a truck that never turned back. By 13, I was taller, all knees and elbows, and spent most days at Hank's garage after school. The air smelled of gasoline and burnt coffee, and I'd perch on a stool tightening bolts while Hank whistled Hank Williams tunes. I gotten good with my hands, could swap a tire faster than some of the guys he hired. Kids from town started hanging around too. Leaning on rusted hoods griping about their folks or school. I'd listen nodding over a Coke and they'd spill more than they meant to. "You're easy to talk to, Ethan," one said, kicking gravel. I didn't know it then, but that was the start of something. School was different. I'd outgrown the bus stop boy whispers, but I kept to myself eating lunch with a book under the bleachers. Mrs. Larson, my English teacher, caught on. She'd slip me paperbacks To Kill a Mockingbird, The Outsiders, and leave notes in the margins. "What do you think, Ethan?" I'd scribble back pages full of thoughts I couldn't say out loud. One day, she pulled me aside, her glasses sliding down her nose. "You've got a way with words," she said. "Ever think about helping people with them?" I shrugged, but her words stuck like a seed in dry soil. Hank noticed too. He'd catch me scribbling in a spiral notebook, old receipts taped inside, while the radio crackled. "What's that?" he asked once, wiping grease on his jeans. "Just stuff," I mumbled, shoving it under a toolbox, but he'd grin. "Keep at it, kid." I did. Nights, I'd sit on the trailer steps, June's porch light buzzing with moths, and write about the hole inside me. Not big dramatic stuff. Just how the wind sounded that day at the bus stop, or how I wondered if Sarah had Mom's crooked smile. It hurt less on paper, like I could pin it down and let it breathe. 16, I hit a wall. I'd been hauling hay with Hank all summer. My arms scratched and sunburned, muscles aching from the work that never seemed to end. The physical pain was almost a relief compared to what I carried inside.